Most relationship advice will tell you that passion is something you have to work to keep alive after 60. Light candles, set the mood, master the right move. I believed that too for years. Let's walk through it together, step by step. How to be close to your partner again after 60. The same gentle bite, the same slow kiss you knew when you were young. But somewhere along the way, I learned that the technique was never really the point. At this age, every small touch carries more weight, more patience, more meaning than it ever did before, and most of us were never taught why. Let's go through it together, slowly, the way I wish someone had explained it to me years ago. And if any of this speaks to you, just a quick like and subscribing to the channel means more than you know. It helps these conversations reach the people who need them most. One, safety comes before any touch. Most of the women I talk with after 60 tell me the same thing. They are not afraid of being touched. They are afraid of being touched before they feel safe. Do you remember a conversation with a woman named Carol, 67 years old, who had been divorced for almost a decade before she started seeing someone new? She told me the hardest part was not the kiss itself. It was the moment right before it, when she had to decide whether to trust someone with her body again after years of trusting no one at all. That decision happens quietly. Nobody sees it, but it changes everything about what comes next. A survey from AARP on dating after 50 found that a large share of women cited fear of getting hurt again as one of the biggest barriers to opening up to someone new. That fear does not disappear just because two people are attracted to each other. It sits underneath every gesture, every glance, every pause before a kiss. This is why I believe romance alone is never enough at this age. Candles and music can set a mood, but they cannot answer the question every woman is quietly asking herself: can I trust this person with what I am still healing from? I think safety has to come first, not as a rule, but as something you build through small moments. A hand resting on a shoulder without rushing further. A pause that says, I am paying attention to you, not just to what happens next. These tiny signals matter more after 60 than they ever did at 20, because by now most of us know exactly what it feels like when someone does not pay attention. I am not saying romance does not matter. It does. But romance without safety is just performance, and most women I have spoken with can tell the difference immediately. So, before anything else, before any gentle bite or slow kiss, the real first step is simpler than anyone admits. It is letting the other person know, without saying it outright, that they are safe with you. That is the part no one taught us. Once someone feels safe with you, the next thing they notice is how you move. Not fast, not eager, but slow enough to let them stay in the moment a little longer. 2. Slowing down is attention, not hesitation. Have you ever noticed how a kiss can rush, even when neither person means for it to? I have watched it happen more times than I can count. Two people who clearly like each other lean in too fast, as if slowing down might break the moment instead of building it. I used to think that speed meant desire. Now I think it usually means nerves. A pause before a kiss deepens is one of those moments. It asks something without using any words at all. Are you still here with me? I used to think hesitation meant something was wrong between two people. I do not think that anymore. Pausing is not doubt. It is attention, plain and simple. At 20, slowing down could feel like losing momentum. Most of us were taught to keep things moving forward. After 60, none of that pressure applies anymore. Nobody at this age needs proof that they are wanted within 5 seconds. So when I talk about easing into a kiss gradually, then waiting, just before it goes further, I am not describing a seduction technique. I am describing two people checking in with each other, again and again, without ever naming it out loud. That kind of attention cannot be faked. People feel it instantly, even when they cannot explain exactly what they are feeling. Slow down enough and watch what happens. The other person will lean in to meet you there every single time. There's a moment right after that pause when the kiss is allowed to go a little further. What happens in that moment matters more than people think. 3 slow is not weakness, it's freedom. I remember the exact chair I was sitting in. It was a quiet evening, nothing planned, nothing special on the surface. Someone I cared about leaned her head against my shoulder, and neither of us moved for a long time. No rush. No urge to make it mean something bigger than it already did. At 25, I would have filled that silence with something, a joke, a kiss. Anything to keep the moment moving, because back then, slowing down felt like losing my nerve. That night, I just sat there. I let the quiet stretch. Noticed the weight of her head, the rhythm of her breathing, the small shift when she settled in closer. Nothing about that evening was urgent. Everything about it stayed with me for years afterward. Speed was never proof of passion. It was proof of nerves, mine especially. At this age, none of us need to prove we can move fast. We already proved that, decades ago, in relationships that came and went for all kinds of reasons. What we have now that we did not have then is permission to take our time. Nobody is timing us. Nobody is comparing us to some imaginary version of how this is supposed to go. So when a gesture like a slow kiss or the gentlest bite on the lip takes its time instead of rushing towards something else, that slowness is not a lack of desire. It is the opposite. It is two people choosing to stay exactly where they are instead of chasing what comes next. I think that is the real advantage of getting older. Not less passion, less hurry. Stay in the moment a little longer than feels natural and see what it gives you back. Of course, staying in a moment doesn't mean staying there forever. Knowing exactly when to let it end is its own kind of skill. 4. Keep it short and let it linger. Most people think more means better. More attention, longer kisses, more time spent making a point of how much you want someone. I used to think the same thing, but here is something I have noticed over the years watching couples who stayed close long after the early excitement wore off. The ones who kept wanting each other were not the ones who lingered on every gesture. They were the ones who knew exactly when to stop. A short bite on the lip. A kiss that ends just before you expect it to. Both work for the same simple reason. They do not try to give everything at once. I have a friend, married for 38 years, who once told me his wife still pulls away from a kiss before he wants her to, every single time. He says it is the reason he still leans in first. That stuck with me. It matters even more after 60, when many of us have already lived through relationships that ran out of mystery simply because nothing was ever held back. So when something feels good, do not stretch it out. Let it end while it still feels good. Pull away a beat sooner than feels comfortable. That small restraint does something rushing never can. It leaves the other person wanting more, instead of feeling like they already got everything there was to get. This is not about playing games or holding someone at arm's length. It is about respecting how desire actually works. Less, held back on purpose, often says more than more ever could. But none of this, the pause, the slowness, the restraint, means anything if you're not really there with the other person while it's happening. 5 presence is the only thing that can't be faked. I once watched a man check his phone in the middle of holding his wife's hand. Just a glance, 3 seconds, barely anything. But I saw her face change in that exact moment, and not in a good way. That is the thing nobody warns you about. Presence is fragile. Breaks easier than people think. The kind of advice you have probably seen elsewhere will tell you to read sighs, read moans, read body language, almost like reading a script. I understand the impulse. We all want a formula, something we can master and get right every time. But here is my honest opinion, formed over many years of getting this wrong myself. Those signals only mean something if the person reading them is actually there. Otherwise, it is just one performance watching another. You cannot fake attention. A partner of 60+ years knows the difference between someone half listening and someone fully there. In seconds, sometimes less. Full presence looks almost boring from the outside. No phone within reach. No half-formed thought about tomorrow's errands. Just the weight of someone's hand. The sound of their breath. The small shift of their body settling closer. I think this matters more after 60 than at any other point in life. Many of us have already lived through versions of love that were exciting but never quite felt seen. We know exactly what it costs to be loved by someone who was never truly there. So forget the technique for a moment. Forget the right move, the right timing, the perfect bite, or the perfect kiss. Just be there, completely, for the 3 minutes it actually takes. That is the part that lasts long after the kiss ends. So, if you take away just one thing from everything we walked through today, let it be this. Intimacy after 60 isn't about doing it right. It's about being fully there. Not the safe space, not the slow pace, not the pause, not the restraint, not even the kind of presence we just talked about. None of it matters on its own. What matters is choosing it, again and again, with someone who chooses it back. Then, if any part of this found you today, a quick like helps more than you'd think, and subscribing means these conversations keep finding the people who need them. Before you go, I'd love to hear from you. What's one small moment with someone you love that meant more to you than any perfect kiss ever could? Leave it in the comments whenever you're ready. I read every single one.